In the late 1990s, in the bustling city of Hong Kong, a crime would unfold so grotesque and unimaginable that it left the city shaken and horrified. A crime that would forever be remembered as the Hello Kitty murder. To understand this story, we have to begin with Fan-Man-Yee. Fan was a 23-year-old woman who had lived a life filled with hardship. She grew up abandoned by her family and was placed in an orphanage as a child. As she got older, she struggled with addiction, fell into sex work, and later worked as a hostess in nightclubs. Despite her troubles, people often described her as someone who was simply trying to survive, trying to carve out a life in a world that gave her very few chances. But Fan would cross paths with a man who had no mercy. His name was Chan Man Lok, a 34-year-old member of the Triads, Hong Kong's organized crime syndicates. Chan was heavily involved in drugs, particularly methamphetamine, and made his money from illegal activities. By his side were two other men, Liang Xingqiu, age 27, and Liang Wai-lun, only 21 years old. Together, the three men formed a cruel and violent group. Fan's misfortune began with what seemed like a small mistake. She stole a wallet from Chan containing about 4,000 Hong Kong dollars, around 500 USD. She quickly realized the danger she had put herself in and returned the money. But Chan wasn't satisfied. He demanded a massive repayment, far beyond what she had taken, as a form of punishment and humiliation. When Fan could not pay the amount, Chan decided to make an example of her. In March of 1999, Fan was kidnapped. She was taken to an apartment in the Kowloon district, to a unit inside a rundown building on Granville Road. It was there that she would face a month-long ordeal of cruelty unlike anything most people could imagine. Inside the apartment, the men began to systematically torture her. At first, the violence was intended to scare her, to make her compliant, but as the days went on, it became sadistic entertainment. The men beat her with metal bars, burned her skin with hot wax, and forced her to consume substances that made her violently ill. Sometimes she was forced to smile or laugh while being tortured, as if her suffering was a performance. The torture sessions were not random. They were methodical, deliberate, and extended. It was not just about punishment anymore. The men appeared to gain pleasure from controlling and tormenting her. A 14-year-old girl was sometimes present in the apartment. She was the girlfriend of one of the men, and her testimony later revealed details that shocked the public even further. She described how Fan was often strung up and beaten for hours, sometimes denied food or water, sometimes forced to eat rice covered in chili oil until she vomited. The girl also described how Fan would be forced to inhale drugs, even while her body was failing. The abuse continued day after day. Fan's body weakened. She was covered in wounds and burns. Her health deteriorated rapidly under the relentless torture. Sometime in April of 1999, after more than a month of suffering, Fan's body gave out. She died inside the Kowloon apartment. But the nightmare didn't end with her death. The men now faced the problem of what to do with her remains, and what they did next ensured that this case would become infamous around the world. They dismembered her body. Parts of her were boiled in cooking pots, while other pieces were discarded with the household garbage. But the most disturbing of all, they placed her severed skull inside a large Hello Kitty mermaid doll. The doll was meant for children, a symbol of innocence and cuteness, now forever tainted by horror. The crime might never have come to light if it weren't for the teenage girl. Racked with guilt and claiming she was haunted by Fan's ghost, she went to the police. At first, the officers didn't believe her. The story sounded so bizarre to be true, but she insisted, telling them that Fan's spirit appeared in her nightmares, demanding justice. Finally, the police investigated. When they entered the apartment, they discovered the chilling truth. Human remains were found in pots and refrigerators, and of course, the skull hidden inside the Hello Kitty doll. It was a scene that even hardened detectives could barely process. The 3 men were arrested and brought to trial in December 2000. The courtroom was packed, and the public followed every gruesome detail. The evidence presented was overwhelming. The physical remains, the testimony of the teenage girl, and the confessions of the accused. But despite the brutality of the crime, the men were not convicted of murder. Instead, they were found guilty of manslaughter. The reason was that the court could not conclusively determine whether Fan had died directly from the torture or if she succumbed to a drug overdose. Without certainty on the cause of death, the charge of murder could not be applied under Hong Kong law. Each of the 3 men were sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. After 20 years, for many, this sentence felt like a deep injustice. The case quickly became infamous, not only in Hong Kong but around the world. The image of the Hello Kitty doll, a beloved children's character, forever linked with one of the most horrifying crimes. It was a grotesque contrast, the innocence of childhood twisted into the backdrop of unimaginable violence. Today, the Hello Kitty murder remains one of the darkest chapters in Hong Kong's criminal history. It is remembered not just for the brutality of the act, but for the haunting reminder of how cruelty and human evil can transform something innocent into a lasting symbol of horror. Hey everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed my video. This is one of the most disturbing and utterly horrifying cases that I've ever read about. Just wanted to make a video about it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to stay safe and have a wonderful day.